You ready? Okay, we're going to move on. Okay, we acknowledge that the land on which we gather is the traditional unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq First Nation. Call to order. Councillor McAleer is not here. He's not able to call in, and I believe Councillor Bernard called in sick. He's not able to. Councillor Duran is on the line. Can you hear us, Councillor Duran?
Yes, I can. Thank you, Mayor Brown.
Okay. Declarations of conflict of interest. No declarations, okay, of conflict of interest. On the agenda, and I'm going by the agenda I have here, 4A, discussion items, resolutions. A1, Joint Committee, PR, ET, and CD resolution on downtown market. B2, protective and emergency service resolutions to permit an outdoor patio on city right-of-way at 40 Queen Street, property cleanups under the dangerous unsightly and hazardous bylaw. And then the last one is C. This is a staff appointment for the trustees of the Legislative and Public Library, and that includes the Charlottetown Library Learning Center. Moved by Councillor Ramsey, second by Councillor McKinnon. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Councillor Drawn, yea or nay?
In favor.
Okay. So can we put the resolution on the floor? CAO? Do you have a resolution for the downtown market? Is there one or two?
Thank you, Your Worship. So there's two parts to this report that's included tonight in your package. One is an original staff recommendation, and then at the very bottom of the report, which is, if you have an electronic version, is page 9 of 19, there is the committee recommendation. So there's two things for your consideration, but the committee recommendation is highlighted there in yellow. So this is a bit different than what we normally bring with a resolution already prepared, because council needs to decide where they'd like to go.
So you want to wait until we have that discussion and put together a resolution? Is that correct, CAO Eleanor?
Yes, Your Worship, because they're slightly different, so we just need a decision on which way you'd like to go.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councillor Twill chaired the meeting yesterday. Councillor Twill? Yes.
I think on the first resolution, it was a result of a discussion we had here at the meeting yesterday. The concern I have, I thought we were going to be voting on the two resolutions subsequently. So the concern I have with the first resolution is the first part, where it says the council supports the recommendation to move the downtown Charlottetown Inc. DCI Farmers Market Federation Landing. I think that's illustrated in the second resolution. So that's not what we requested simultaneously at the meeting yesterday when I made the recommendation that we have 3 engineers, 2 in Public Works, Asset Management, Mr. Johnson, our fire chief, and our police chief, that they would begin the process immediately of doing an assessment and evaluation of Queen Street, come back to council with a report as to what would be truly required to alleviate all the concerns that were illustrated in terms of safety and security and the letter that was sent to DCI.
Okay.
So I see that in a resolution in and unto itself, as opposed to the first part, because it's 2 different issues. You got 2 different issues here. So I would like to remove that first part of that resolution, and then council can vote on whether or not we relocate the farmers market down to Confederation Landing. That would be in the second resolution, because that's confusing. In fact, I say this with all due respect, I see it as a bit of a trap, and I'm not in favor of that. So, Mr. Mayor, I'm in favor of the second part, in the administration, explore the infrastructure requirement, and I'll speak to that. And further, that the administration review and update any related bylaws, street vendors bylaws, pedestrian mall bylaw, or if required, to create a bylaw, which we said last night, a farmers market bylaw. Thought I made that quite clear. So, with all due respect, sir, the first part of that resolution,
number one?
yep,
Yep.
where
What
it
do you
says
want?
council support the recommendation, move downtown Inc., Farmers Market to Federation Landing.
For the 2020, for the 2024 season?
Yeah, I know, but we got two resolutions. We don't need to say that twice.
Good.
Want that first part removed.
Yeah, and what do you want to put it there? What do you want
Pardon
to put, what do you want to put there?
I'm happy with the second part, where it says, the administration explore the infrastructure requirements potentially to make Queen Street a suitable location for future markets. More specifically, that our Public Works Department, our two engineers and Mr. Johnson, Asset Management, along with our fire chief, Tim Mamie, and our police chief, begin the process of
Okay.
doing a site visit to Queen Street and look at what the amenities would be, what the infrastructure requirements would be to make that truly a safe venue for a farmer's market to be held 13 or 14 times a year, along with Farm Day in the City,
Yeah.
along with Diverse City, along with the Victorian Christmas, which is a 3-day event. Begins on a Friday, shuts the street down, and then it opens up opens up Sunday night.
Okay.
So
Got
that's
that.
what I'm looking for, Mr.
Okay.
Mayor. I just don't
Okay.
want the two of them confused.
So, second resolution is all right, correct? I'll just, no, well, wait, now what's here? It says, on page, joint committee, well, that to me is the second resolution. It's on page 3. Council permits downtown Charlottetown Inc. to host. The council directs administration to develop a new parks bylaw that addresses events, parks usage, and engagement. That's a separate resolution. How do we want to do the first part?
I got this twice.
I just want to. Yeah, just, what do we want to, do we have to put it in the resolution, or do we put it in the background? CAO, Eleanor?
Thank you, Your Worship. So I think what I understood from Councillor Tweel, if you look at, there's a resolution that combines Confederation Landing, but then it also combines that administration explore the infrastructure to make it available on Queen Street. So what I think I'm hearing is delete the first part, which talks about voting on Confederation Landing, and make the second part stand alone. So what would stand alone to be voted on is that administration explore the infrastructure required to potentially make Queen Street a suitable location for future markets, and further that administration review and update any related bylaws, street vendors bylaw, pedestrian mall bylaw, et cetera, or if required, create a bylaw to address outdoor markets.
Okay. Yeah, just one sec. Councilor Matar.
Oh, thank you, Your Worship. I guess maybe the first resolution I was interpreting as we had to support the recommendation, which would be a resolution in itself. And then the second resolution supported the permitting of the actual farmer's market to Confederation Landing. That's how I read the interpretation of it? And if it's not that, then it would be redundant in the sense of saying both statements in that way. So maybe the CAO can clarify.
CAO, can you clarify that for?
One was a
Councilor
recommendation. Do
Matar?
we have to do the recommendation based on last night's discussion in the first resolution?
Let's just make it clear.
So there was a recommendation from committee. So you had an initial staff recommendation. Committee didn't support that recommendation. Instead, they came up with a second recommendation, which is at that bottom of the report. So what Councillor Tweel just read out was an attempt to try and capture what committee was recommending. So what we're hearing is a further refining of that, of a preference that what is presented here as one resolution be split into two resolutions,
Yeah.
which sometimes happens
Yep.
because not everyone can agree on something being together to be voted on.
Councilor McKinnon.
Thank you, Your Worship. I agree, as Eleanor captured on what Councillor Tweel had said. if we can remove that first section of the first resolution, let the rest, the second and third paragraph stand alone. The wording is not the same in the first resolution and the second, so therefore I find there's a little bit of a variance there. So if we can remove that first section, move forward, and I think we'll have no issues.
Good. So Eleanor, CAO Eleanor, can you just make the modifications to that and just read that out loud?
So thank you, Your Worship. So in preparation for tonight, we, traditionally on these resolutions, we usually have ahead of us, or in front of us, we have a counselor that's already moved it and seconded it.
Yeah.
Both of these, because we weren't sure what direction we were going tonight, we don't have either.
Yep,
a
we're gonna
mover,
get that right
okay?
now.
So for us to amend this as it is,
Yep,
you move forward with the one I just read out, that administration explore infrastructure required for Queen Street. And then a second resolution could be what was included in both of them, and that's that council permits downtown Charlottetown, Inc. to host a farmer's market at Confederation Landing for the 2024 season.
so the joint committee was made up of the Councillor Twill and Councillor McKinnon. So Councillor Twill, do you want to move it? Councillor McKinnon, do you want to second it?
I'll move the.
Or both of them? Yeah, she's going to revise it right now. She's amending it.
For Queen Street.
Yeah, well, that's the study.
Yeah.
Will you second it? I'll second it. Okay.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll second it. Just on the second one, I think, as Councillor Twill alluded to, we want Queen Street in that resolution?
It's going to be in the first one.
No, just the first one.
The first one,
Okay.
okay.
Councillor Beck.
Yeah, just looking at the two, in the resolution number 1, it's asking to review and update bylaws, or if required, to create a bylaw to address outdoor markets. The second one was talking about park usage and engagement requirements, because I think engagement requirements was one of the issues in this particular instance, that there was possibly a lack of engagement or oversight on engagement or misunderstanding of what that engagement should be. So I think the portion of, I'm okay with leaving, so resolution number 2 would basically be the first paragraph and remove the second. Okay. I think the elements of engagement and park usage should be added to that third paragraph of resolution 1 somehow, because I think that has to be in there, because they're asking to review and update, review all this stuff is what we're asking them to do, so that we don't get into this sort of situation again. And one of the issues in this is captured in resolution 2, but if we're going to be deleting that paragraph, we're eliminating that review or looking at that or saying, what do we have to do? So I think there's elements of that last paragraph in recommendation number 2 that should be in recommendation number 1. Are you following me, Your Worship?
Yeah, I am following you, but you know what? I think what she stated, based on Councillor Twill's recommendation, it covers what we're talking about. It may be split in 2 resolutions, but Eleanor, can you try to amend it to include, like, we're doing this on the floor right now, which is done
Yeah.
before. It's not new. Is there a way to do that?
Yeah. Thank you, Your Worship. I think I
I know.
can.
I know.
They would be changing the second part, if Councillor Twill and McKinnon are okay with it, that further that administration review and update any related bylaws, street vendor bylaws, pedestrian mall bylaw, et cetera. So that opens it up for other bylaws that need to be pulled in if necessary. Or if required, create a bylaw to address outdoor markets, and then we can add on events, park usage, and engagement requirements.
Yeah, that's what I want.
Is that all right, Councillor Twill? You'll sign it? Okay, you'll move it. Councillor McKinnon, you'll second it? Yeah. Can you just put that on? And then, is there a second resolution to that, or just the one?
This one.
Yeah. Yeah, we got that, yeah. Down to Confederation Landing. Yeah. And and you guys will move that and second that too. You'll move and second the second one too. Yeah. Okay, can you sign that? She's gonna read it, she's gonna read it out. As soon as it's signed.
Thank you.
Do you want-
Great. Thanks. Do you want me to read it?
Can you read it?
Moved by Councillor Twill, seconded by Councillor McKinnon. Be it resolved that administration explore the infrastructure required to potentially make Queen Street a suitable location for future markets. And further, that administration review and update any related bylaws, street vendors bylaw, pedestrian bylaw, pedestrian mall bylaw, etc. Or if required, create a bylaw to address outdoor markets, events, parks usage, and engagement requirements.
Nope. Councillor Twills wants to speak to it. He moved it.
Because, you know, we've had two meetings now, two joint committee meetings, where we've tried to do our own assessment internally as to how the process unfolded. You know, some of us have been very critical of that process, and in some cases justifiably so, because of, you know, being, you know, coming to meetings, finding out that, you know, we're in the back end of the process as opposed to being in the front end. And Mr. Mayor, I'm hoping that this resolution will address that, being proactive, being progressive, so that all elected officials are involved on the ground level. We have to be involved in the ground level. We can't answer questions to the community at large when we are not involved at the ground level, okay? Municipal politics, we are the closest to the people. That's one of the beauties of municipal government. We can't, but we're drifting away. We're drifting away. We're becoming farther away from the community. So I think this resolution, to my mind, I'm optimistic that this will go a long way to addressing those needs. And I'd like to reiterate what I said last night. I think it's imperative with our engineers, our fire chief, chief of police, for them to start that process, for them to start their own working committee, and to work on all of those challenging issues, whether it be electricity, whether it be barricades, fire trucks having access to, you know, 20-foot right-of-way to some of these side streets, whatever the case may be. We want to make sure that we get it right, and we get it right the first time.
Okay, thank you very much.
So that's what we, Councillor McKinnon, I think that's what we talked about in our last two committee meetings. And then I feel much better because we're going to be making informed decisions as opposed to, you know, catching on in the final frame and we're out in left, we just have no idea what's taking place.
Thank you, Councillor Twill. Questions called? Yeah. Did you want to ask a question? You were just, Councillor Drawn?
No, I'm good. Just
Okay.
waiting.
Anyone else? Councillor McAleer, is he on the line? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Councillor Drawn?
In favor.
Okay, now can we read the next one, please? You need a mover and a seconder? Do you have a move, do you have a mover? Oh, you need a mover and a seconder. Councillor Twill and Councillor McKinnon? Oh, you don't? But that's from your committee, okay. Okay, 8-0, so moved by Councillor McCabe, second by Councillor Beck. You're all right with that, Councillor McKinnon? Did you want to second it? Good, okay. It's, just read the second one. Absent, who's absent? Councillors. Councillors. Can you read it, please?
Worship. Moved Moved by Councillor McCabe, seconded by Councillor Beck. Be it resolved that council permits Downtown Charlottetown, Inc. to host a farmers market at Confederation Landing for the 2024 season, late June to late September.
Councillor Twill.
Thank you. I will not be supporting the resolution because what I tried to say earlier, I felt that if city council could have been involved in the process much earlier, I think a lot of the problems and some of the issues that we faced in the latter part of this process could have been avoided. Now, Deputy Mayor Lana says, you know, we can do better. We've been saying that all along for the last several months, and we haven't done better. So, do you know what, folks? I think there has to be a message sent to the community. The community was very upset when it was first announced that this was going to Founders Hall. Some of the food vendors were going to be left out of having that opportunity, and then it got switched to Confederation Landing. This is all done on the fly. Again, not going through the proper committees. That's been the process here for a number of years. It's conventional, it's traditional, it's a process we've always understood and abided by. I felt that this was very frustrating for me personally because I had to answer a lot of questions to the community and to the vendors, and regardless of correspondence that was going back and forth from the city to DCI, council should have been involved and have been engaged from the get-go. That did not happen. So I still believe, you know, and I was contacted by one of the vendors today, maybe a hybrid situation where we could have five or six farmers markets on Queen Street and the other 7 down at Confederation Landing. That was a hybrid situation that I was approached with today by email by one of the vendors that was here last night. I'm not sure of the logistics, how that would unfold. I thought it was a good compromise, and sometimes you have to compromise in these situations. Personally, I still believe there's time for our senior staff to look at those challenges and to make Queen Street work. But that would have to come from the city to DCI. Because in all fairness to DCI, it does put them in a handicapped position in that we've determined what the boundaries are, and therefore, it's hard for them to say, well, you're telling us what the rules of the game are, and now we can't really, we can't comply with that, so we have to go to another location. So again, many challenges here, folks, many challenges as to how this whole thing unfolded. I'm really not so sure the Confederation Landing is a proper or a good suitable location. There was challenges in front of Confederation Landing. Why would not some of those same challenges exist down at Confederation Landing? You know, it's a grassed area, it's well maintained, and you know, if there's damages done to that site, well, who's going to bear the cost? Who's going to pay the freight? What about people with disabilities? How are they going to be able to navigate down to that particular location?
Yeah.
And is it going to be accessible for them? There's many questions. So, in all sincerity, I will pass on this and not support this resolution. Thank you.
I do want to say that DCI has been a partner since 2010, and they've agreed to be part of it again for this 2024 season. And I think that's very important for the city to work with our BIA partners. So I appreciate the board and the executive director or CEO, and that they're going to try to make it work and hopefully going into the future. Question? Okay, I see it here. Councillor McKinnon?
Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. No, it was just a comment was raised, but I'm going to pass at this point. Let's go back to the question.
Oh, okay. No, I got the deputy.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. I just made some notes here. If you just pardon me that I'm going to use my phone here just so I keep my thoughts in order. To Councillor Tweel's comment, yeah, I'm well aware as well of an email circulating today with a vendor with another idea, with a hybrid approach. Potentially could be a great idea, but unfortunately, we have upon us tonight, we need to remember three things. That the operator or the applicant, DCI, has made it clear that they are unable to return to Queen Street in 2024 due to emergency services concerns. Two, the applicant and the vendors are up against a wall from a time perspective, and if a decision is not made soon, we risk the chance of not having a market in Charlottetown this year. And thirdly, this is a valid recommendation upon us today. So, it was supported, by staff, and from what I heard last evening in the meeting, vendors seem to be, relatively okay with it, the best solution for a short-term solution, that is. So for that reason, it's like one of those things again, sometimes we have to make a difficult decision. It might not be ideal, but it's the best of the worst situation that we have right now. And I certainly look forward to working with DCI, the vendors in the future for a permanent solution on what the market may look like, whether it be Queen Street, wherever that might be. But for this evening and for the sake of the vendors, and the time constraints we're in, I will support staff's recommendation to move the event temporarily down to Confederation Landing for 2024. So thank you for that.
Councillor McKinnon, do you want to speak now?
Yeah, just, thank you, Your Worship. I appreciate what Councillor Twill said, like, the process that was followed in this was totally obscure, like how this all came down. But in the end, I think we've come, after last night's meeting, having listened to the vendors and staff. So I am supporting staff's recommendation to go to Confederation Landing, because we are under a time crunch here. You had made a statement there, Your Worship, that DCI has expressed interest to doing the 2024 season. Is this the last year for DCI?
Oh, no, I'm just saying that they're on board for this year. The first resolution that we went through, there'll be a lot of work going on to keep DCI at the board. But no, I'm just talking about 2024, and I think that was said by Lori from Fat Cat Pastry.
Okay, no, thank you. No, I do support the resolution as it stands. Thank you.
Councillor Beck and Councillor Matard.
Just a quick comment. I've been following, I've had exchanges with some vendors. I've had some discussions with some vendors. I've been attending the meetings that have been going on, following it here. And I think what we have in front of us today kind of effectively encapsulates a lot of what we're hearing. I think temporarily the vendors we're providing some stability in the short term, and long term we're committing to finding the best solution possible. I think there's general acknowledgement that we don't know what Confederation Land, it could be the best thing ever, who knows? We could get down there and we might say, how come we didn't do this 10 years ago? Or we could be saying, it worked okay for this year. We don't know. We simply do not know. But I think through what this whole process, in terms of working through this process, which was not easy slugging at times, admittedly, or not on my part, but I'm just watching the ongoings. But I think there's a willingness to look at coming up with the right solution, the best solution, and we have time in our hands to do that. And in the short term, we're still providing support to keep the market as viable as we can for this year, and to provide an element of stability for those vendors so that they can operate and continue to do the good work that they've been doing. So I will certainly be supporting this motion, and I'm glad to see that we're going to be tackling it with a little bit of long-term collective vision and see what we can do to come up with, make this Charlottetown market the best market it's going to be around anywhere. So, thank you.
Councillor Matard.
Hey, thank you, Your Worship. I guess over the course of events and the communications that we've had in numerous meetings that we've attended over this topic, I think it's, it can't go unnoticed that, one of the main drivers of this is the safety and security, or the safety of the downtown, the residents in the area, and the vendors themselves in the event of any type of emergency situation. And that doesn't go weigh lightly on me. And I think, to make a decision to not support the moving of that would be sending the wrong message and supporting, not considering the ramifications that could potentially happen as a result of an issue. But having said that, realize that there's other events that are occurring that do also, pertain to some security as well, and we may need to look to address those in the near future, and how we can mitigate any potential risk there. So, I think personally myself, I would be supporting the resolution to move forward. We've heard from a number of vendors last night at our meeting. It seemed very positive. It seemed like a good approach, although there was some recognition of looking for somewhere, long-term, and that could be the place, as Councillor Beck indicated, that it could turn out to be a really good location. So I'm hopeful that the city, the administration will work with the DCI, the vendors, to come up with a location that works for the future. So I will be supporting the resolution going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Drawn, I can't see you. Any comments? Question?
No, I'm good with everything. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Twill, second time, 2 minutes.
Yep, thank you. In my discussions with the vendors, there was a poll taken. I think Olin Penner kind of alluded to it here last night, but the number one preference is to stay on Queen Street. Second preference was Queen's Wharf. Possibly third would be Founder's Hall, and then other locations like the parking lot down at the government parking lot down off of Terry Fox Drive. Some folks believe that the city of Charlottetown could take the necessary interim preventative measures in the interim to make Queen Street safe, with the long-term plan to make it even much more safer, having the infrastructure and the amenities and all those other prerequisites that would be required to have the farmers market on Queen Street for the long term. But some really believe that, that the city still has time to put in place the preventive measures to make it somewhat safe for the events to take place. As pointed out, and I think you might have alluded to it, Councillor Mertart, we have Farm Day in the city, we have Diverse City, and we have the Victorian Christmas. So I believe some of them same challenges would also apply to those three major events in the city, and they go over extremely well. And, we have, all we have to do is look around street markets all over North America, and they go over very well. So I'm just taking from what I picked up from residents and vendors, that they really believe that there's still time to do some interim work to make Queen Street safe
Okay.
for the vendors and for the community, and have accessibility for our protective services.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
The resolution on the floor is that council permits Downtown Charlottetown Inc. to host a farmers market at Confederation Landing for the 2024 season, late June to late September. Question's been called. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Councillor Drawn, yea or nay?
In favor.
Contrary? 7-1. Okay. Councillor Tweedle opposed. Okay. Do you have another resolution there? Do you have to get? I think we're going to the next part of the agenda, please. I think I'm just going back to my agenda, and it says do we have to permit an outdoor patio? Do you have that resolution? Can you are they signed? You have them signed? Okay, thank you.
Moved by Councillor Ramsey, seconded by Councillor Beck. Be it resolved that the request to enter into a development encroachment agreement for the outdoor patio to be located in the 2 perpendicular parking spaces on Queen Street in front of Tabali Grills, 40 Queen Street, PID 335877, be approved to the end of the 2026 season, subject to annual permit applications and fees, and that the mayor and CAO are hereby authorized to execute standard contracts and agreements to implement this resolution.
Okay, Councillor McCabe.
Thank you, Your Worship. And I have no problem supporting this resolution, but I know we've had lots of discussion about these patios and these things that we're approving through all these different committees, and I guess I'm asking if there's any way we can somehow put patios and requests under one place rather than, I think this one's coming from Protective Services, some have come from planning, some come because of Public Works encroaching onto their right of way. I think we need to, as we are continually talking about how we can do better, find a way to take these things and put them somewhere under one, whether it's committees come together and make a report. It's really hard to follow. So I don't know how I put a motion on, but if I could put a motion on that we look into clarify or cleaning this up a little bit.
I'm going to just ask the CAO if she would address that, because we do have 2 directors here that could follow up, because one's administration and one's at integrated growth.
Okay, thank you.
CAO, Eleanor, do you have?
Thank you, Worship. It's actually on the list of things to do. It's just we have to, there's a couple other things like the summary proceedings bylaw that has to get through first. There's only one person really working on that kind of policy right now.
And not that I'm rushing.
No, it's good. And Deputy?
CAO Mohammed pretty well covered it for me. There is an active bylaw with the legal counsel that's been there for quite some time that's addressing part of that. But as Eleanor alluded to, it's on that list. We just discussed it today at Councillor Ramsey's committee, and he's added it to his next agenda for discussion on updates. So, yep, and I didn't mean to speak before Councillor Ramsey, but yep, so appreciate the thoughts.
And Councillor Ramsey, did you talk about summary offense ticketing? Oh, that's another issue. Okay. Councillor Twill first.
I
Yes?
just want to welcome this new business, which just opened recently, downtown Charlottetown, again on Queen Street. Terrific food. I'd encourage everyone to get out and try the food. It's tremendous food, and just want to wish them all the best. I think it's another great shot in the arm for local business, particularly downtown Charlottetown.
Well, if you're buying, I'll go down. If you're buying, I'll go down. Councillor Ramsey.
The Deputy Mayor just said what I was going to say, Your Worship, that we discussed this today, and it's still with legal, Councillor McCabe, and we're hoping to get a further update in our next meeting at May 15th. So thank you very much for those comments.
Councillor Duran.
No, I'm good, thank you.
Questions called? All those in favor? Councillor Duran, yea or nay?
In favor?
Okay. Do you want to go to the next one there, CAO Eleanor?
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by Councillor Ramsey, seconded by Councillor Beck. Be it resolved that the Public Works Manager be authorized to cut grass, remove any trees, garbage, and other materials or debris, dangerous or otherwise, clean up and properly dispose of same at the owner's expense for the following properties in accordance with the terms of the dangerous, hazardous, and unsightly bylaw of the City of Charlottetown. 17 Beach Street, BID 365528. Warning posted on March 27th, 2024. Pictures taken. Satisfactory action to resolve the issue not taken. 5 Parkdale Crescent, PID 568576. Warning posted on April 8th, 2024. Pictures taken. Satisfactory action to resolve the issue not taken. 75 Dorchester Street, PID 337980. Warning posted on April 11th, 2024. Pictures taken. Satisfactory action to resolve the issue not taken. 96 Upper Prince Street, PID 360404. Warning posted on April 11th, 2024. Pictures taken. Satisfactory action to resolve the issue not taken.
Councillor Twill. Councillor McKinnon.
I recently had a discussion with the bylaw enforcement officer, and I believe that this process that we have now is archaic, and it's past due for major changes. I think that if we make a change to the bylaw or the procedural bylaw, which would give the power to the bylaw enforcement officer to make those calls, make those judgment calls, as opposed to waiting for 3 and 4 weeks to come to city council to have a resolution passed. The summer's gone, and we're always caught in these situations, and there's a lot of frustration by the adjacent property owners. So I asked administration if we could look at those changes, consultation with our bylaw enforcement officer and the police department, and I think we'll be able to expedite a lot of these unsightly premises in a very timely fashion, as opposed to waiting, 4 weeks for committee to meet and the council to pass a resolution. That's 4 weeks, sometimes it stretches longer. So I think we need to be proactive in that regard and to bring about those changes.
Councillor McKinnon, and then Councillor Ramsey. Yeah, you'll probably have a, Councillor McKinnon?
Thank you, Your Worship. What response to what Councillor Tweel said, I thought we had that discussion last year that we were trying to get this updated. But I think it was Councillor Matart said last year that we were requesting more information on these rather than just saying when notice was posted. We don't know what, I know it's not the grass being cut this year at this point in time. What is the issue with each one of these properties we're voting on? We don't have any idea. So that's all.
Okay. So, Councillor Ramsey, would you have that information as chair of the Standing Committee on Protection and
No,
Emergency
but
Services?
that's under operational with the bylaw officer, and he would sort of get complaints from neighbors, let's say garbage or the place is being run down, it's not being looked after, fire hazards, and that's with our deputy fire chief too, Kent Mitchell. He's looking after these files also. And to go back to Councillor Tweel's question, Councillor Tweel, I've been around for 10 years too, and you probably heard me harp and harp and harp every year on this, is that we gotta speed up this process, because sometimes if it goes in the first of the month, and then it's gotta come to council 4 weeks later, and then by the time other things happen, it's almost 8 weeks till the summer's over, right? And things along that line, so I've been asking that for 10 years now, and I'm hoping that we're gonna be able to move on with that and sort of speed it up, sort of take it out of our hands, because there's a lot of properties that we discussed today. In fact, in our meeting, there's a lot of properties that are repeats. And we keep going back and back, and they keep saying they're gonna put a lien on their property and all that. I mean, but the city's losing money on this, because we gotta send out our public works crews and everything along those lines, and we're just holding the bag in this thing, and it's not right why other people are trying to keep their properties half decent. I don't wanna say bad, but half decent, and they don't wanna be looking next door and seeing what's going on. So I'm still harping on that, and I'm still gonna be preaching that to try and speed this up as fast as possible. Thank you.
Deputy.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. And just to build on what Councillor Ramsey said, Chair of the Protective and Emergency Services Committee, right now, every time we pass a resolution for an unsightly premises, the bylaw officer has 18 months to continue to go back to that property. So if it's a repeat offender, thankfully that doesn't have to keep coming back to council. And to address the whole cost factor, each time Public Works needs to revisit that property, another bill is sent to the property owner. So there is a bit of a cost recovery process happening there. But I certainly concur with Councillor Tweel when we talk about the necessity to create more of an operational component around these unsightly premises. And I believe, as CAO Mohammed has pointed out many times, I think this might be 26 bylaws that might need to be updated. So this will probably be added to the rest of the list of increased and changes to our bylaws. So Anyways, that's just my thoughts on that. I will be obviously
Yes,
supporting.
including summary offense ticketing.
And summary offense ticketing, yes.
Yes, Counsel-
and
Counsel
That's
Twill?
going to be a gift for your worship's birthday.
Councillor Twill? Yes, yes.
I realize there might be, 26 bylaws and I need to be updated.
Yeah.
But I would suggest that this is a top priority. And Mr. Mayor, I would also recommend that this be put on agenda for council so that we can discuss this to give our bylaw enforcement officer the tools so that he can go ahead and do his work and again, in a timely fashion so that, doesn't have to come to council, doesn't have to go to protective services. I mean, he's a great judge of character. He's very easy to work with. And, we're lucky to have a bylaw officer who has that skill set. But we got to give him the tools. And I would suggest, Mr. Mayor, that we do this right away.
Councillor Twill? We went over this back in 2000, 2006. It just keeps going around. But could I ask administration, there is a land issue here that it requires council approval because our police officers just can't go out. It's like going to a person's house and going into that, you need a search warrant, but that search warrant doesn't come from the police department. It has to come from an authority, greater authority. Can we try to get some information that CAO Eleanor or the two directors? I think it keeps coming up. CAO?
Thank you, Your Worship. So we have discussed this in the past. It is on the list of things to do, and there is 26 bylaws that currently need updating, some more important than others. There is a plan to bring to council a discussion about how to prioritize these bylaws. These bylaws will take, at a minimum, 3 months, 6 months to get done. So you've got 26 of them, and those are the timelines. These are resources that we've had. Up until this point, we haven't had enough resources to turn around these bylaws. So the Director of Community Services, this is one of the bylaws that they would be dealing with. So in the priority discussion, if this is one of the priorities, we'll move forward on this, but there's a couple of other bylaws that are burning too, so I think that conversation needs to be had. We have a limited amount of resources, and we just need to choose what we're going to prioritize moving forward. So that conversation will be happening soon.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think to reiterate Councillor Twill, he's making this a priority. Other councillors have made it a priority, so I think that should be one of the top, along with the procurement bylaw, because Councillor Twill, you've asked for that many times. Summary conviction bylaw, like, we got a lot of things. And you know what? If we need to find the resources, fund in resources, then that goes back to finance to look for that money. Councillor McCabe, hold on, just one sec.
I do remember having this conversation lots, because I know we've asked why we couldn't just allow the bylaw officer to go into, but there is something in a legal legislation somewhere, and I never really did get a final answer, but there's a reason why. And they did give it to us, so even a revisit to that, Eleanor, maybe, so we could be refreshed on what that is and see if it is something we can even work on, because I know that there was some sort of legislation that was presented to us by the chief of police.
And it's legal counsel could be part of that too. Okay, resolutions on, Councillor Duran,
Yes, sir?
good? Any comments, questions?
No, I'm good. Thank you very much.
Councillor Ramsey.
Yes, we who sit on this committee, we understand it, and Councillor Twill and I both know, because we talked to the bylaw officer enough as it is. But if you want, maybe someday at a special meeting of council, we can get the bylaw officer in and explain how the system works to all of us, so we all know that we just don't go out and just can't tear down a building, or you just can't find this person. Because the way he explains it to me, when he does, it makes sense. So if we're all on the same page and we're hearing from one voice of saying, this is the rules, this is what I gotta follow, I mean, like, I can have them in. So now we're not sort of questioning, but I think we're all in the same room, because Councillor Beck brought it up again today at our noontime meeting, is that it keeps coming back and keeps coming back and keeps coming back. But if he had the tools or to do this job, like these things won't be coming back all the time, you know. And once again, once this is passed tonight, if it is passed, well, then he can start tomorrow on these properties, and then he can keep going back without it coming back to council for 18 months. So, we can discuss that. Eleanor, maybe, like sometime we have a meeting, we can bring
Yeah.
the bylaw officer in.
We'll go to the next meeting. We'll talk about the next special meeting. Questions called. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Counselor Drawn.
In favor?
Thank you. So the next resolution, Eleanor, is a staff appointment, correct? And that has been made in the past when the library was at the Confederation Center. So this came from, I think, Finance. They made a recommendation because they want someone from Finance on that Board of Trustees. Can you provide an explanation? Do you have any background? Just before we read it?
Thank you, Your Worship. So this request came through actually from the public library, and that we are obligated to have an appointment. So the appointment was requested as the mayor making appointments to have this individual. It's traditionally, this appointment has come from the finance department, so this is the name that was put forward from the finance department to be appointed. So that was our recommendation.
So can you read the resolution, please?
Moved by Deputy Mayor Yankoff, seconded by Councillor McCabe. Be it resolved that Sabakun Nahar, Finance Senior Accountant of City of Charlottetown, be appointed to the trustees of the Legislative and Public Library, as recommended by His Worship Mayor Philip Brown.
Councillor Twill, you have a, go ahead.
Could, I don't know if it's fair to ask our CAO or someone here from finance, could somebody give me a thumbnail sketch as to what the mandate is of this organization? What exactly are they responsible for? What do they meet on? What are some of the issues that they examine?
Councillor Twill, this was established back in 1964 when the library opened as part of the Confederation Center. So there was a board of trustees put in place, and there's also a board of directors. The board of trustees are the combination of provincial, one municipal representative, and you'll notice the municipal representative or the nominee is a finance background, because in the past it was not Wendell Wedlock, but Steve Wedlock that was our appointee. So the trustees is just a carry on from the Confederation Center Library, which the trustees provide. I don't know if it's a sounding board, if there's any more information, Ellen, that you can add to it?
Thank you, Your Worship. I think the best summary can be found on page 19 of your package, where it outlines in background and what the membership is composed of when they started.
Page
what they
19.
do. Page 19 of your agenda in your package.
Question? Questions called. It's in the package. All in favor, please raise your hand. Councillor Drawn, yea or nay?
In favor?
Okay. 8-0. Councillors Bernard. And, motion to adjourn? All in favor? Councillor Drawn, yea or nay?
In favor, thank you.